All right, so this is a follow-up video to my last one, or last few videos, I should say. In those videos, I discovered some issues with some Takahashi Abbey orthos that I'd ordered, two 32 millimeters and one 9 millimeter to compare against the TeleVue 9 millimeter Delight that you see here in this video. I had ordered the 32 millimeters for BinoViewer. After considering a few different options, they seemed like the right fit, so I ordered them. And then in the process of field testing them, I noticed that one of them had optical fungus in the eyepiece. It was very clearly growing on the field lens. And that prompted me to take a closer look at the other two eyepieces that I had. So the other 32 millimeter as well as the 9 millimeter. And in doing so, I kind of put together this makeshift sort of diffuser box. I've got my headlamp sitting on a glass and then just a Zeiss lens wipe that's sitting on top just to act as a diffuser, just to illuminate the eyepiece and sort of see what was in it. And when I had done that, I had found that there was significant dust contamination in the 9 millimeter, enough that it looked like there was a uniform coating of dust across the eye lens and the field lens, and I think even in some cases on the inside as well. Same thing with the other 32 millimeter Abbey ortho that didn't have fungus on it. So they were contaminated enough that I sent them back, and then rather than replacing them, just because I don't kind of know what Takahashi's quality control is doing these days, I opted for kind of like a safer route, which is just going with the TeleVue 32 millimeters, and then just getting the 7 millimeter Delight, which I'd wanted anyway. So I had been weighing 32 millimeter Plössls against the Abbey orthos, against the LEs, and I just decided that given those quality control issues, it was probably safer to go with TeleVue. So in fairness, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a similar test of these three eyepieces, the two 32 millimeter Plössls here, and then the 7 millimeter Delight. I've got the 11 and 9 here just for reference. I have not cleaned the 11 and 9 in a while, so it'll be interesting to sort of compare what these eyepieces look like. I received these earlier today. I've unboxed them a couple of times just to do a quick visual inspection. I have not actually done this test on them yet. So I'm interested to see what I'll find. They do look clean, but then again, so did those Takahashis. So I guess we can maybe just dive in and take a look and see what these eyepieces are like. So we'll start off with just this 32 millimeter, and I'll put this up here on the diffuser box. And then I'll just kind of position the camera similar to how I positioned it in the test against the Takahashis. And so what I'm looking for here are just kind of motes of dust or any more egregious problems that might be visible. So if I'm kind of moving the camera around just to find a good angle here, it looks like you can see maybe a couple of motes of dust there. I mean, that's probably just from it being open and sitting on my desk for a little bit. There's definitely nothing egregious here. I mean, this is really, really clean. If I bring this over to the light source, there's really nothing there. You can kind of see that little mote of dust, and I'm just turning the eyepiece here. Let's see, there's something there on the left. So that's odd. That looks like kind of like you can see it there to the left of the eyepiece. And it looks like, and if I turn it, you can see it moving. It looks like maybe like a line or some kind of a scuff or something. Hard to see, pretty low contrast there, but so that's interesting. I might try and take a closer look at that, but overall, this eyepiece looks really clean. I mean, there's definitely little bits of dust here that look like they're on the eye lens. That's to be expected since I've opened this a couple of times, but that looks pretty good. All right, so let's try the other 32. And just kind of position the camera here a little bit. I'm just turning the eyepiece to look for issues, possible signs of contamination. Yeah, there's some dust sitting on the lens, but that's, that's probably from opening it up, and that's, as far as dust goes, that's nothing. That would not affect the view at all. So I would, even if this came from the factory like this, that's not something that would concern me. It's very easy to clean off if it's that bothersome, but that is super, super, super clean. Compared to what I was seeing with those Takahashis, this is night and day difference. And this is what I would expect from a premium eyepiece. That's just about as clean as you can get. So that looks really good. So now let's take a look at the 7, the white. So I put that on top there. And I kind of bring the camera over to take a look. Interesting. All right, so there's a lot more going on here. This is not as clean looking. Okay, so definitely more contamination on the surface. These are just a few motes of dust, but I'm also seeing quite a bit on the inside there. So you can see there, it looks like there's some that's out of focus here. Those are probably on the eye lens. And the camera is picking up some on the inside. How close can I get this camera here? Yeah, so that's interesting. So it's definitely got something going on. That stuff might be on the field lens. Certainly not as clean as the 32, but at the same time, the nature of an eyepiece like this is that it's very good at magnifying things. So it's whatever we're seeing here is likely magnified significantly more than whatever the 32 millimeters were doing. So this might be making it look worse than it is, but it's definitely a group of cluster of dust there. So that's, yeah, so that's interesting. So I'd probably want to take a look at that field lens and see. Oh, one just fell right on there. I'd probably want to take a look at that field lens and sort of see what's going on there, and that might be something that can be cleaned up. Either way, it's not terrible. I mean, that's more than I would like and more than I expect, especially this kind of like this weird hazy spot there, but not as bad as what I was seeing with the other eyepieces. So that's worth taking a look at. But just for reference, we can compare that against these. Now the 9 I've had for a little under a year. And so I have not cleaned this more than a couple of times. So let's see what this looks like. So yeah, so there's quite a bit of dust on the surface again. This hasn't been cleaned in a while. And then if I do the same thing, if I try and just move this camera in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's quite a bit there as well. All right, so, and I mean, this is kind of what I might expect from an eyepiece that really hasn't been cleaned. Certainly it hasn't been cleaned recently. I've never really done this test against a Delight before, so this is kind of new. And you can see all those out of focus dust motes on the field lens, on the eye lens rather. And on the field lens, there's quite a bit of contamination. I think that's the field lens. I hope that's the field lens, because that should be easy to clean. So I'll probably try and clean these and do a follow-up video and see if that helped. But that's similar to what we were seeing with the 7 just now. This is a little bit worse. Understandable, considering it's been used in the field and it hasn't been cleaned. So a bit strange that we saw a similar level of contamination on a new eyepiece. So let's see what the 11 looks like. Now the 11 I've had for 3 years or so. And so we can try this test against that as well. Again, some dust on the eye lens, which hasn't been cleaned. And if I kind of get in there, yeah, there's quite a bit there too. Again, not sure if that's field lens contamination or if that's inside. So that's probably worth cleaning as well, and just to see if that improves things. But if it doesn't, then there's potential contamination inside of these eyepieces. And compared to what we were seeing with the 32 Plossels, that would seem a little disheartening if those can't be easily cleaned. Now the 7 it seemed like it was exhibiting similar contamination as the 9 and the 11 just now. So you know, it's hard to say. You know, the industry, I think, is a little bit notorious for taking returns and then reselling them as new. So it's, you know, it's hard to say if that's the case with the 7. Based on what I saw with these 32s, these look like they're fresh out of the factory. The 7, not so much. The 7 looks like that could have been potentially used and returned. You know, if I grab this, I don't know if there's any, put this back on here. I don't know if I can look for any marks on the barrel here. Get some fingerprints from me handling it. I don't see any marks from lock screws, so I mean, it's hard to say. There's, you know, compression rings are used. It doesn't look like it's been used, or if it has, it hasn't been used that much. So just looking at that lens a little bit again. Yeah, it's a little dirtier than I would have expected for a new eyepiece. So I've kind of already played this this rodeo once with the vendor for Takahashi to get those eyepieces returned for contamination. I don't think I want to do that again. I'm just going to try and clean this and see what comes of it. And if I can't get any cleaner, I might reach out to TeleVue and see what they recommend, or if they consider something like this just normal as part of their manufacturing process. So, but at any rate, the eyepieces look fairly good, especially the 32s. You know, I definitely consider this to be a lot cleaner than what I would have expected out of a premium eyepiece. So just thought I would kind of do a similar test just to give these the same test and same fair shake as I did the Takahashis, just for simple matter of equal testing here. And so far I'm happy. You know, definitely keeping these 32s. I've got some clear skies tonight. I'm actually looking forward to using these. And the same with the 7 Delight. So hopefully I've got some clear skies and I can actually, or steady skies rather, and do some planetary observing. So anyway, I thought I would do this review and share with you guys.